All right. We're going to see somebody race tonight, Gordon, that we haven't seen race all year. I'm talking, of course, about Sifan Hassan, scheduled to run a 5,000 in Portland. She won 2 golds in Tokyo, bronze in the 1,500. This is crazy to say, I had assumed that she wasn't going to run this year just because we hadn't seen her. And she was on the pre-classic start list, and then she wasn't, and just hadn't heard anything from her. And I thought, all right, well, there must be something going on that we'll find out about later, and that she's not going to be there. But she's running. She is running, and I think anytime Sifan Hassan is running, you take note, you pay attention. But at this late stage, and how good that women's mid distance all the way up to distance field is right now, what do you see as Hassan's chances being for Eugene?
I have no freaking clue. Like, it could be, yeah. I probably should have been more prepared to have a take on Safan Hassan. I almost wish, I talked about how I wish news would break before the podcast. I wish you would run at least once before the podcast before I can have a take on what Safan Hassan is going to do, because she hasn't run at all. She didn't even run indoors, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we haven't seen her the entire year of 2022. She's doing her own
Mhm.
version of lockdown by locking down herself from not running on the track. But it's kind of funny, though, when you think about it, because there was a lot of commentary from my perspective about man, she must be tired after the
Yeah, she looked
Olympics.
tired. Yeah.
Doing the triple attempt. This is my goodness, Safan, you don't need to run for a whole nother year. That's probably what I said. And
And she
now
said,
I'm
okay.
she said, okay, I'm not going to run for a whole nother year. I'm going to wait until the very last moment to run and then compete at the World Championships. So yeah, she's running in a 5K at the Portland Stumptown Twilight.
Mhm.
So we'll see what she does. Trying to think. I think she'll probably run fine. She'll run whatever she needs to
Mhm.
run. She's probably in shape to run at least 15 flat, right? She's probably not going to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
So she'll go out, just do a get my feet wet type race. The real question is, does she have the kick?
Well, yeah.
Does she have the turnover that you're going to need to compete against the best in the final part of a 5K, the final part of a 10K? Do you know what event she's entered in?
Well, she's entered in all three,
Oh
but
yeah, but she's not going to run all
John
three.
John did a write up with quotes from her coach, and yeah, they said they're not doing all three, obviously.
Did they say
But
which ones they're
I
doing?
don't think no, they said they haven't decided yet. But Kip, I only should run the 1,500. If you're trying to get a gold medal, you're not racing against Faith Kipyegon in the 1,500. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, it's just not. That's not a plan for success. But you got Nia and Saba waiting in the longer stuff. You have Sagai, you have Gade. It's going to be hard no matter where you go.
yeah,
So I don't know that we're going to get anything out of this race other than, all right, she's healthy and at least going to show up, because the the 10K is basically a week away from this race. So she's not, even if she could run a fast time, she's not going to show it
yeah,
at this race. I think if she does perform well at Worlds, that would just with basically zero buildup, because this is almost in a way too close to the meet to count as a full effort. Does that make sense? I know that kind of sounds counterintuitive, but it's very clearly a let's just get your feet wet, as you mentioned. Let's go through the routine of racing again and just test your fitness a little bit. If this was 3 weeks ago, you'd say, all right, we can really judge something from this. But this is basically trying to get a little bit more intensity than you can have in a practice. So she's really going into world championships with nothing.
yeah. Should
except
we?
obviously being the greatest distance runner in the world right now. I don't know. I also thought about this.
Do you think that
What's
you
the
should
difference
have to
between
at least do something to qualify for Worlds? Obviously, she has all of her standards from the previous year, and the country's going to
yeah,
select her because they know she's, amazing. But do you think it's kind of weird that this is allowed?
one race
You get to
minimum,
like
two race
sit
minimum?
out the entire year and then to be like, I'm here.
Yeah, this is not ideal. I don't think this was the plan. I know you mentioned her wanting rest after last year, and it wasn't just the Olympics. Remember post Olympics? She went after that mile record again. She went after that fast 5K time at pre. She ran against Kipyegon in the Diamond League final in Zurich. She just kept going. She never
Yeah.
stopped. And by the end of the season, she looked completely gassed, which again, I don't blame her. I'm amazed that she got to the finish line. Yeah, but my question is, where does it become beneficial just at this point not to race, just to keep people guessing even more?
No, you got to do one. You just got to do one where you're just like, all right,
This
going
is a
through the
race. All
motion.
right.
You're putting yourself
Yeah.
through, a full 5,000 meters, a full 10,000, because how often has she done like a full 5K in training? All of her workouts are probably broken down, whatever it is. Her longer stuff is not at the pace that she's going to have to be running when it comes to race time. So it's a way to like just get your legs to do a full race so you kind of remember what that's like because you might forget.
Yeah.
It's been a year, you know, right? I feel like I would forget. Would you forget race pace if you don't run a race for an entire year?
I think she can mimic race pace in a workout just fine. I think it's all the other stuff that comes along with racing that you want to practice, the routine, all that stuff, running with other
Yeah.
people. But again, what's the rest of the field look like? This is not going to be the field that goes up against her in Eugene. I didn't, yeah. I think I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to if she runs the 10 defend that 10K title, and if she runs the 5 that's obviously going to be difficult because we just seen how good everybody else is this year. And I don't think as good as these top athletes are in these events, the margin between being able to win gold and just not having it on that last lap or last 2 laps is quite small when it comes down to it. Even though she wins by when she's at her best, she's able to win comfortably. I just think it's very tough and very clearly this was not the plan going in. I know they wanted to take a lower key type season, but no one's like, hey, my first race is going to be a week before World Championship starts. There's not a distance runner around that wants to do that, but we shall see.
We shall
We
see.
shall see. All right. Anything else on that?
No. Oh, I guess we'll find out. We'll make this decision after tonight. But like, will you pick her to be a medalist in any event?
Right now, doing this before we've seen this event, I would say no, which is crazy because she's
Crazy.
clearly awesome. But I will wait until tonight, and maybe I'll say, man, she looked really comfortable running 14:57. I think this is it. I'm gonna pick her. But then they just released the full fields too, so you wanna dive into those and see, I mean we have a good idea based on each country announcing their team, but you can kind of do the math. And you're like, all right, well, if she's at her absolute worst, she's gonna get seventh, and then you start talking yourself into this. Really wouldn't be that tough to get bronze if she's anywhere close to what we've seen her before. It's just a huge jump up in competition right at the last minute. It reminds me of was it Bekele in 2011? Let me look this up real quick before I move on. It's just popped into my head. I feel as if he ran this was back when Kennedy Bekele was, on the track still a threat. And I feel like he ran that Daegu 10,000 without running much that season. And then yep, it was his only race. But then 2 weeks later in Brussels, he ran 26:43 in a 10K. But he did nothing in 2010, showed up to Daegu, we're like, "Oh, is this it? Is he gonna do it?" And he DNF'd. and in 2010 he had barely raced as well too. But you give these athletes the benefit of the doubt because it feels as if success at a certain point is inevitable because they're so good. And I remember watching that race thinking, "Oh, Bekele's got it. He's got the buy. Like he don't need to do anything." And then that was the first time to me, he looked mortal. Was in that 2011 race in Daegu when he dropped out. Not saying the same thing's going to happen here, but just a historical parallel I thought of.